everyone. I hope you're having a good week so far. We're now out of Mercury retrograde, so that's one thing that we can look forward to. We're out of Mercury retrograde. We're now stationing direct. So when a planet stations direct as it comes out of retrograde, we still have like the shadow of retrograde. So it's not fully direct yet. So there's still some internalizing, there's still some communication issues. Things aren't quite out direct yet. Also today, we have a really heavy square, Mercury squaring Saturn. And this also talks about delays, right? So just think about what's going on in the world. Delays. That's what this energy is. It's a very strong one. And it's combined with this kind of mental internal scatter with resistance and everything that Saturn brings to it, which is a heavier energy, almost sometimes a dogmatic energy as well. So we're all experiencing this on an individual level as well. And it can be hard to come to like a full understanding of something at this time. So one of the best things you can do when Mercury is stationing and squaring Saturn like this is to take that mental tension that's happening on and focus it into something. So, and a really good thing to focus it into is something that requires a lot of mental focus on your part. So maybe focus it into a puzzle or learning something new, or if you're in the process of learning about something, focus in on the energy. Take a project that requires a lot of mental challenge. It can't be something necessarily too easy for you. You want it to actually give you mental challenge, and that stimulation of mental challenge focuses this kind of scattered and intense energy, and it puts it into something like you're like, I'm going to figure this thing out, right? So that's what you can do with the energy that is presenting at this time. Right. So the other messages that are coming through. Before I forget, I'm about to open up my Epic Year Workshop for 2021. So my Epic Year Workshop is a goal-setting workshop that uses intentional magic and numerology to help us create goals for the upcoming years and make goals that are in actual alignment with your own personal vibration. So that is actually going to be coming up on November 24th. I haven't opened it yet, but I'm excited to do that. What I noticed, right? So when I've done this workshop for a few years now, and when I did it for 2020, as we got deeper into 2020 and I watched things happen, I was really wondering, like, wow, is anybody going to stick with their goals? Are goals even going to be important to people at this point? And what I've learned through the process is that the goals were actually an anchor point for people. They did adjust. It was really interesting. They did adjust, but they gave them something to anchor to and go back to that felt in vibrational alignment with them. It gave them a through line to follow. After experiencing not only what I was going through this year and how I used that energy, watching other people and having them actually see that they could predict where their energy was going to go and get in alignment with it and how that was helping them. I was like, right, this is actually probably more important than I'm actually acknowledging, is that having a goal in times of change, rapid change and uncertainty, is definitely going to give you something to feel grounded, to give you a way to get back into alignment, and that's specific to you. Because 2021, let me just tell you, 2021, if you thought 2020 was interesting, 2021 is going to be very interesting. It is going to be the restructuring. So 2020 is considered the Great Awakening. It's the 2020 vision, seeing things clearly. And those who are stepping into that alignment and that energy and are really looking are seeing things clearly. It's all starting to make sense. Everything that wasn't adding up before really adds up now, or we can see why it doesn't add up. 2021 is a different kind of energy. It is the restructuring. It is the year of the shift. Now, when I tune in energetically to my team, December 21st of this year is a very important moment. I don't know if it is the shift or if it starts the shift. It could be either one, but that is an energetic point in which the great shift occurs. And so the great shift would be into the Aquarian age. And when we go through a shift, again, and I said this last time, but it's worth repeating because we can experience it a couple different ways. Remember, there is no one reality. There is no one timeline. And it very much is dependent on your vibration. So whether your vibration is raised up and higher and you're experiencing higher timelines, or if your vibration drops and you're experiencing lower timelines. And yes, we can experience multiple timelines. We can be in one state and another. I mean, this is how fluid we are as beings. We're multidimensional. That has a lot of different connotations to it. So when you understand how fluid you are, right, then you become more conscious of where you're flowing to. That makes sense. So in 2021, it's a great shift. And it means when things are shifting, right, they're unsettled. They are not secure yet. When you see something that needs to be changed and you go to change it, you change its state. It becomes unsettled. It actually moves into a flow state when you go into change, because that idea of settling or grounded or stop has more of a slightly more static frequency. When you're in a great shifting, a changing, all the pieces are moving, and that can feel really ungrounded. So what I want to be clear on is just because it feels ungrounded doesn't mean it's not positive or that it isn't uplifting or exciting. I mean, a roller coaster feels ungrounding, and people can have different experiences of that, right? Some people get on it and they're like, woohoo, like I love roller coasters. So I'm like, yeah, let's ride this thing. Some others get on it and they feel like they're going to throw up, right? It's too much. It's too intense. And again, it's interesting because even that analogy comes down to perspective, right? So when we can understand that, for example, on a roller coaster, when I learned the trick of a roller coaster, I really started to enjoy them. And the trick is not to brace for impact, right? So bracing on a roller coaster causes that constriction causes the queasiness. It causes the discomfort. When you actually allow yourself to kind of lean into it and fully relax, it feels like you're flying. And it's interesting because it's almost like a counterintelligent move. Like your body naturally wants to brace for impact. And yet that's where the discomfort comes in. It's the relaxing into it that creates the ease and enjoyment. So that's kind of what 2021 feels like energetically to me. You can either lean into it and it starts to really feel freeing and actually fun, or you can brace for it, which is a type of resistance. And when you resist that can feel really painful. So, and again, we can go back and forth between states. It's really interesting. It really comes down to our own frequency. And that's what our emotions are here for. That's what those tell us. The higher emotional states that we're in, the closer we are in alignment with ourselves. The lower the emotional states within, we're just being shown that we're out of range with ourself. It is easy, though, to let your emotions dictate to you, make you think that you're experiencing something real. So the emotions don't always tell us the truth about what is happening. What our emotions tell us is where our frequency is at, right? So that is what can help us know which timeline we're in, which one we're on, if it's in alignment with us or not. That is the gift of emotions, because many times if we're going down this avenue of experience where we're having a perspective that's really actually grading us, what we don't realize is that our emotions are telling us, hey, this is actually not in alignment with who you are and what's natural to you. And that gives us a choice. We can either respond to that by choosing to identify it and raise our frequency, through consciousness, or maybe doing a few steps that we need to do to help us do that, or allowing ourselves to continue going down it and believing that is the reality, right? This is why I keep mentioning the understanding of multiple reality, because it can be very convincing to think reality is static or one thing when it really isn't. And it's funny, because talking about it can sound almost like fantasy thinking. In fact, that is what the false timeline tells you, is if you're not thinking their reality, you're not thinking, you're not thinking straight. You're not all there if you're not thinking their reality. It's a scare technique to keep you conditioned. That's why I'm so excited to talk about the fact that multiple realities exist, because reality and dimension and timeline, these are all connected to one another. This is why not everybody has the same experience. You can you can put a handful of people into an experience and they will all give you different feedback, and some feedback might match others, depending on how many are sort of like in a certain frequency together. But there's always going to be the Debbie Downer, right? This, most everybody is having a good time and getting along, and then there is that one person at least who's just like, well, the fish was dry, right? They're like, oh, my flip-flops got wet, or all they can focus on is what wasn't working or what went wrong. And that just shows you that, and that is that person's reality. See, that's the thing, is that really did happen, and that was their experience. And it has a lot to do with frequency. It has a lot to do with, what level of energy that person is at. So having an understanding of that, and understanding how powerful you are, that you are fluid, right? Like if you're having a Debbie Downer moment where you're like, my flip-flops are all soaking wet and my feet are cold, you could have that experience, but then you can also open your eyes and be like, but it's because I'm standing in the ocean on a beautiful sunny day, right? And you can see how the same person having an experience can move into different states of frequency and have a completely new understanding of what's happening to them. The other thing my team's asking me to bring up, because I find that doing this, it changes my state so much, and it brings me so much peace and joy, is focusing on loving kindness. So I wanted to take you through that now before I do karma cards, loving kindness meditation technique. And it's something you can do quickly, and it can shift your mood, I feel, dramatically, or it can at least shift it into a higher frequency. So I want to do that with you right now. So loving kindness meditation is, we're going to do a 2-part version. You can do multiple variations of this, but it's basically intending love and kindness towards yourself and kind of fill your own cup, and then intending it to others. And like I said, there's variations on this technique where you can really break down categorically, like how you're sending it, who you're sending it, the awareness that you're bringing to it. But just for the sake of this Facebook Live and to give you a quick taste of it, let's do it together. So I'm putting my hand on my heart, bringing my awareness to my heart space. And take a deep breath in and blow out through pursed lips like you're blowing out a candle. And what you'll find as you keep exhaling in this way is it forces your breathing to slow down. And as your breathing slows down, you move out of fight or flight. Can't be in fight or flight when you can breathe slowly. So one more time with me. Okay. And now you can close your eyes if you want. But I want you to take a moment and just imagine that you can see yourself. So maybe you can see you sitting there. And let your heart fill with love. Just let it fill with that warmth and appreciation. And as you're picturing looking into your own eyes, say, may you be happy. May you be healthy. May you feel safe. May you be free from suffering. May you know peace. And may you know deep, deep love. Now take a deep breath in again. And that slow exhale. So now you've got your cup filled up. You've given love and kindness and compassion to yourself. And now you're just going to direct it outward. Now we're directing it outward. So imagine just radiating this out from your body and just repeat after me. May all beings be healthy. May all beings be happy. May all beings feel safe. May all beings be free from suffering. May all beings know peace. And may all beings know deep, deep love. Taking a deep breath in. Long breath out. So my quick question for you as you kind of come back, did you feel your frequency go up? A couple things there, right? Just bringing our attention to our heart. That energy already moves our mind to our heart. Slowing the breath down. That takes you out of the cortisol-inducing fight or flight mode. And it moves you into your parasympathetic system, because you cannot be in fight or flight if you can breathe slowly. The body doesn't do the two things at the same time. So that can help raise your frequency. And then finally, intending thoughts of love and kindness towards yourself and towards others raises your frequency. And I noticed the key word is intending, right? So it's okay if you're like, "Ma, I couldn't get there. Matt, I'm a little angry at this, or I'm upset about that." That doesn't matter. It's not about forcing yourself to do it. It's about intention. It's about the intention of wishing well towards yourself and towards others. We speak a version of the loving kindness meditation at every spirit circle. That is how we close the energy, as we bring in the intention of love, kindness, and compassion for self, for those we love, for those who feel distant from us, and for all life. And by doing that, you can feel your frequency raising, and this has an effect. You may have heard me say before that the highest frequency in an area is the dominant frequency. It's such a beautiful effect. I love how the universe is created. I love how it works. I love how it, it's not about how many are doing it. It's about frequency. Frequency is a type of, almost like a currency, if you will. Like the higher the frequency you hold, you're holding a lot of abundance. You're holding a lot of prosperity here. And that prosperity has a type of power to it. So the beautiful thing about this power is it's not an invasive type of power. It's not a power that has control over others. Rather, it's a type of power like a life-giving force. Frequency is that life-giving force. It is like a free energy device. So when you raise your frequency, you illuminate, you literally lift up that which is around you. So somebody struggling next door in a lower frequency has just been raised a few points up, right? By you raising your frequency. It's one of the most loving acts that we can do for each other. And when more of humanity gets to this place that we don't need to control each other, rather what we need to do is focus in on our own frequency. How and have that personal responsibility of what's the energy I'm sending up. Now, interestingly enough, negative energy doesn't have this sway. So only the highest frequency can dominate. Isn't that interesting? So if someone's around you in a radius and they're having a really low frequency state, they can't affect you if you're in a higher frequency. If no higher frequency is present in an area, it sort of evens out at the level that most people are at. So if a bunch of people were together and they were in different levels of agitation, the dominant frequency would be one of agitation. But if at least one person in that area rises out of the lower frequency and raises into higher frequencies, well, that baseline of agitation now moves up. Maybe it becomes apathy, but it lessens, right? So the whole area gets raised to this sort of peak point. It's really beautiful. We have so many tools that we can use to help us, change our frequency, change our own personal direction. And it's just good to be reminded sometimes. Let's get into karma cards. For those who are new to karma cards, let me remind you how we play. So we've got 3 decks here: planets, signs of the zodiac, and the houses of astrology. I've asked my team the question and they've given me the answers. I've got 2 sets of answers. I've got answers in red, which are action related, and I've got answers in blue, which are outcome related. And all you do is tune into yourself and decide, what do you need? Do you need action or outcome? So you can type in action or red or outcome or blue. And if you want both, you can definitely choose. This reading is for November 4th through the 11th. November 4th through the 11th. And the flavor of this reading is Pluto. Pluto, which is the power purge planet in Sagittarius, which rules the higher mind, in the 8th house of mystery. For those who are choosing action, your spiritual action is to resurrect your highest ideals as a life or death issue. Okay, resurrect your highest ideals as a life or death issue. This again, it's so funny, but it's literally talking about raising the frequency. Your highest ideals are where you're heading, right? Highest ideals, if we were just talking about personal or soul growth, we would be talking about your destiny, your potential, your soul potential. And when you talk about the word ideals, if you were to use it in a broader way, like the things that you think, the goals that you're aiming for in life, right? So resurrect your highest ideals as a life or death issue. Make this the priority, they're saying. This is, believe it or not, it's still about you. And the outside world can be tricky because it's very convincing that this is what we got to go work on over here. And like I said last week, you did your part. If you've done your part, let that go. It's still about us. And everything that's happening right now is still catalyst for a much bigger event. And this is the event that I keep talking with you about. This is all the little areas, but we're talking about ascension. It really is happening. It's really coming. Everything out there is merely catalyst to get you to look inward and go, what's going on in here? How do I feel? Where's my frequency? What am I going towards? Right? What reality am I, what timeline am I going to? These are your choices. Nothing outside of you chooses this for you. So they want you to keep focusing on that as if that is what you're here to do, because it is. Mental action at this time. Get to the heart of the rules of getting and using power. Get to the heart of the rules of getting and using power. Also very interesting because I kind of tapped into this before. Again, we're talking about frequency and how the highest frequency is the dominant frequency, and that is a form of power. But again, it's not the kind of controlling power where you're using it on others. It's the kind of power that's life-giving. Get to the heart, go straight to it. The rules, right? Understanding that. So the rules here are, remember, free will of others. So just because you raise your frequency, again, you can't control others. Yes, you become dominant and you can shift frequency around you, but you can't get them to do anything with it, right? Every being is a sovereign being. And every being has to come to things in their own time. So yeah, I feel like there's going to be this tendency to want to grab, and this is a lower timeline feeling, but it's like I want to grab someone and force them to get something, a concept, or look at this, and really that has to be surrendered and let go of. Nothing of like that needs to happen, and it's not effective. It doesn't work. You can't force people to grow. You can't force a horse to drink water, right? You can lead them to it, but you can't make them drink. That's what the team would say. All right, the physical action at this time, do or die. You must get it out to the world and use other people's resources. You must get it out to the world and use other people's resources. Right, so this is that. Again, you can lead the horse to water. That's the feeling I get here. You can lead the horse to water. You can't force them to drink. And, this part of the message, and it has to do with that feeling that maybe we're having right now, actually, because it's part of the physical action. So there's this intense feeling of, I've got to show you, I've got to tell you. Using other people's resources means like the tools that are available to you for communication, or shared resources. Yeah. It's interesting though, because the physical action really kind of almost feels like it's paradox to the other two actions. Get it out in the world. That's the Sagittarius part. And when I'm asking the team right now, they're like, paradox is real. so it is. But it's still, there's two parts of it that are focusing on you. Choosing blue or outcomes in Pluto in Sagittarius in the 8th house of mystery. The spiritual outcome is the need for control of insights to understand personal power. The need for control of insights to understand personal power. So this is talking about self-discipline, is another way to say that. In order to tap into your power, you have to practice self-discipline. And to practice self-discipline, you need to understand what distracts you from the journey of personal growth. So what is distracting you from your journey of personal growth? If you're worried about what other people are doing, that can be a distraction. If you're just caught up in global events, that can be a distraction. If you're waiting for the timing to be right, like kind of going into perfection mode, that can be a distraction. So it's asking you to have that self-discipline to tap into your personal power, which means that it might not feel like it's available, but it is through will, which is a very important tool that we have. Mental outcome, an obsession with the wisdom of the mysteries of life. I love it. An obsession with the wisdom of the mysteries of life. So let's say you grab this self-discipline and you're like, aha, distraction. I'm going to block that out. I'm going to focus in on my personal growth. I'm going to get back into my frequency. I'm choosing the timeline. I know where I'm going. So let's say you get that. Well, guess what happens when you do? You get a little bit of secret of the universe juice. That's kind of what they're showing me. It's like you get that, bing! It's like an instant sort of like pineal gland opening, insight past the veil, more information coming through, which is, even just a little, when we get a little bit of that, it is highly intoxicating, because you really like suddenly everything makes sense. You get so much more clarity. And so all I'm seeing is that little bit of self-discipline leads to sort of this, you get a little hit of secrets of the universe, and then it becomes like, how do I get more of that? That becomes the focus, is a drive towards physical outcome at this time. A power struggle resulting from the understanding of a major change. So we are in this point. We are in this point right now where we are in the birth canal. We are giving labor. Birth is going to be happening soon. So birth to me feels like December 21st, but this is a long labor. It's a long labor. So there's people who, you know, and this is a pretty obvious statement I'm about to make, but there's a lot of unrest right now. There's some people who are, I feel like everybody's going to struggle with an aspect of what's happening right now. This is not the end. This is not even close. This is the sort of final, it's the crescendo of a movie. It's a very big crescendo point. It's like the big final battle. And I do see that people struggle with aspects of it, different aspects. So people will be struggling with understanding some of it. Some people will struggle with patience. Some people will struggle with how things turn out. And one of the things that my team has said to me is like, you've got to get in this place where you take your power back, that your security is dependent on an outcome. So outcomes are part of false timeline narrative, right? Where they want you to focus on the end, the end, the end, the end, this end that is coming. In reality, it's all evolution. It's all the next step to the next step, which leads to the next step, right? So stop attaching your sense of safety, security, power, experience to some point, because that point will change and shift as well. It always will. And we won't find peace while we are attaching our security, our happiness, our safety to something outside of us. That this is part of the personal power thing that we need to get. It's part of the self-discipline we must learn. Stop attaching to so-and-so's thing, right? Stop. Yeah, my team's like, ka-ping on that one. So it can be a struggle, right? We really, because we're trained to attach to outside external things. And we're told that our lives, our happiness, our whatever hinges on this. And that is a way to give your power away. When it's in someone else's hands and you agree to it, you've just given them your power. That's not what New Earth is about. New Earth is about sovereignty and personal power. This reading is about personal power. And personal power, you know, it's natural right now to do this, to attach to outcomes. It's natural. And the only point I'm trying to make here is catch yourself. Like, don't worry. Don't beat yourself up when you catch yourself doing it. Just go, oh, I'm attaching to this. I'm really attached to this. I'm going to take that back. I take all my power back, right? And put it back in your hands. It's so interesting. We are so powerful individually, each every one of us. We are so powerful. We can literally give our power away. That's how powerful we are. But if you can give it away, you can take it back. Right? Take it back inside. Take your timeline back. Take your ascension back. Take everything about what's going to happen to you in the future and put it back in your hands, right? Who do you want driving your life experience? Do you want somebody else, or do you want it to be you? And then when you want it to be you, then you start asking, what level of me do I want to have driving, right? Do I want the human instinctual level of me to drive? Do I want my mind to drive, or do I want my higher consciousness to drive? These are some examples. But first we got to take it back, right? And then we got to make those kind of decisions. So right now it's just saying that power struggle of give it to them, give it to you, that's a real thing that's happening now. And I'm going to tell you, you will find more peace, more groundedness, more balance, more center, more joy, more happiness, and more vitality when you take it back and put it in your own hands. Raise your frequency and be a beautiful source of power, one that is not controlling, but life-giving, because that's what you are. That's what we all have the ability to be, and that's what true power is. So with that, I'm going to send you lots of love and kisses. Thank you for being here and supporting this and watching me. And I will see you next week. Mwah. Bye. Thank you for watching. Subscribe now and hit the notification bell so that you know the next time I release a new video. Until then, stay magical.